frequency of 52 megacycles by authority of the Federal Communications Commission. A test program follows. For you who've been trained technically, I need hardly say that there's still a number of problems to solve. I guess you know them as well as anybody knows them. But I think we've proceeded far enough to justify the statement, at least, that these technical problems are not insurmountable.
The first decks you open are always seem a lot of fun.
I mean, great game.
My name's Jeff. I'm a member of the New York City team. I actually don't live in New York City. I live out on Long Island, but two of my good buddies who play Keyforge are from Manhattan. And I started playing, a couple of years ago at the PAX Unplugged, and fell in love with the game, and been playing ever since. Obviously, being out here on Long Island, definitely, the Crucible has been very helpful to allow me to play, which has been great. And the deck I'm using today is actually kind of a cool deck. It's actually a double sting deck. It's a deck I didn't really even know the double sting existed, but I saw one when I was playing against someone, and I thought it might actually be a really cool combo to find a deck with two stings and that terrible Shadows card, Nightforge. Um, and I thought with a double sting, maybe you could put that card to some use. But interestingly, and as I've found out through testing, Nightforge is even worse card than I originally thought. Because it has the clause, if you forge a key this turn, it doesn't do anything, even if you have, the amber to forge two keys in one turn, which surprises me. And actually, I was talking with my buddy about it the other day, and how that card could be so bad, but so much better if that clause wasn't in it. But it's a fun deck anyway. It does some interesting things. The double helper also helps it, to do some funky things sometimes. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the match. It should be a good one. Yeah, we practiced a couple times. With mixed results. Having double sting and having too much to protect makes it a little bit tricky to navigate. Or was that last week? I can't even remember. You might have effervescent principle. I don't quite remember, but there is some big amber control. I remember in his deck, and it can be a problem for sure. If I get too high on the amber, it can definitely be an issue. But that's the main thing, to look out for. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to a good match. Well, interestingly, the top 32 was a little scary for us. In our testing, decks didn't do so well. I remember using a couple, during testing, and I felt they got a great draw during the match, and the deck sort of worked out was supposed to, and ended up winning the match. But it's funny, my play style is sort of very powerful, somewhat slower decks, and I've noticed that sometimes that can cause consistency issues. So one game I might crush my opponent, and the other not so much, just because the cards come out, sort of in a bad order. But yeah, it's been fun, and I've loved this format. Having to select new decks each week. It's been kind of fun, and looking at some decks that don't get so much play. Especially as we move towards the finals here with. I don't even know what deck we're going to use for 54 if we get all the way there. It's definitely going to be a challenge to go through the collection and find something. I'm not the biggest smack talker ever, but I definitely hope it's a good match. I'd rather have it really be close and tight, than win by a mile. Those matches are kind of boring when someone establishes, and there's nothing you can do, and the game just sort of ends. I think, obviously a win's a win, and you want to win. but I'd be disappointed if it went one-sided either way, you know, like someone just established a board and just kind of went the game slowly over, you know, 6 turns or 7 turns. Those kind of matches kind of stink for me because it's like, well, I already lost this game. I just have to wait, you know, wait it out. So I'm hoping for a good close match, you know, one that comes down to the last key and, you know, makes it exciting to watch and stuff. So that's my hope.
Moving to the red matchup here, I'll let Woody start us off.
Sure, we got Sulky of Zadpath Throne Room. It's an interesting one. So we got KOTE here. I'll start with the Dis. This is an interesting one, and I'm wondering how they want to play this, because they've got a lot of interesting artifacts here and some interesting play effects. So, at the risk of just going through the entire thing, I'm wondering about like how much Screaming Cave matters in this matchup, and maybe that'll just be something we see
Sure.
throughout later on, because it's also a library access deck with phase shift and stuff like that. The Drumble is interesting, an interesting amount of amber control that could potentially be really big. Soul Snatcher, that's another one. It's like, do you play it? Do you not? Kind of matchup dependent. You know, this deck overall doesn't look like it has a ton of creature control, but it's there. It's got decent enough kind of effective power. Overlord Grecking, you know, can be really fantastic. We've seen some Overlord Grecking plays in KOTE that were just like absolutely absurd. I don't know.
Yeah, none of that here, thank God.
There was that one deck that was like healing it, and like it just never left the board, and it was so disruptive, and like it was brutal. It's an interesting disc though, with a little bit of disruption, a little bit of like creature control with Hand of Dis, Keyhammer, which can be. I'm looking for like a good like Keyhammer combo here, but
With the Drumble.
Sure. Yeah.
So you're going to be able to like kind of cash in that Keyhammer and then slap the Drumble down as an essentially elaborate miasma.
Right. You know, this this deck needs a. Oh, you know what's a play is like phase shift Keyhammer EP.
Sure.
Neg you that hammer, take away the key. That's kind of brutal.
All during an LA turn, right?
Right, during an LA turn with like the double Fogify, double lab work, like that's just fantastic. That's a great amount of speed. Yeah, sloppy lab work as well. Yeah, I love the logos. I think it's great. Like so fast, so zoomy.
And then
the shadows here is in kind of creature control shadows a little bit with the booby trap and poison wave. Treasure map's a great card for just like, you know, getting 4 amber. Yeah, I love that card. You know, there's not like triple Umbra is interesting. Like in the right matchup, that could really be a problem. And old Bruno to capture 3 is always nice.
Yeah. So I think, you know, like reflecting on kind of the deck list, like you had asked early, like, do you play that Soul Snatcher? And here you're looking at a 17 versus 13 like creature matchup.
Sure.
We have a Drumble, we have a Dust Imp, and then the triple Umbra and the old Bruno. So if you're slapping down Umbras with Soul Snatcher, it's a totally different thing than slapping down Umbras generally.
Sure.
Because it's like, I'm going to gain 1 if you pop them. If you don't pop them, I'm going to steal 1. And it puts you in this absolute bind. And in addition to that library access play where we're putting away stuff with the lab works and the sloppy lab work in order to get those kind of combos, I really think that there's a lot to like here. Combo-oriented deck, very hard to play, I would imagine, to kind of get everything moving right.
Speaking of hard to play, though.
Yeah, speaking of hard to play, the Bannon Grand Keeper's Reaper. Grand Castle's Reaper, sorry. Brobnar logo shadows. First thing I'm going to do is actually start with our logos. And the reason being, we've got the core of this deck can be Archimedes with double Helper Bot and a Neutron Shark. So you're going to be able to, with an ideal hand, do the Sharkimedes combo, which is of course the neighbors of the Archimedes are destroyed when you put them out. You're going to be able to play Archimedes in the middle, Helper Bot on one side, Helper Bot on the other side, you know, in a perfect hand situation. Play 2 cards out of house, shark them away, shark away the shark, and then you can have them in archive to replay. It's really, really like potentially nasty. You know, so what can we do kind of to complement that? Obviously, like I said, we're talking about ideal hands, but hey, that is a potential that this Logos has. Playing out of house here, we've got, you know, we're looking how to link into other things. We've got a Rani. We've got double Sting, which is kind of fantastic in a deck that also has Shark, right? It's because we're going to be able to destroy it either by going Shadows and using the action ability, or by using the Archimedes, by using the Neutron Shark to pop it and just gain that Amber kind of for free. A Night Forge might allow you to forge a final key, just to kind of cash in that Sting Amber right at the end. So that's pretty nice. The Shadows otherwise to me is relatively kind of pedestrian, but the double Sting consistency in addition to the fast Logos is really, really nice. Finally, moving to the Brobnar, double First Blood, totally broken. No, seriously, we've got 2 Screech Bomb, which is going to get you, you know, a little bit of Amber control. The Lollop, in addition to the Flex, can be a nice Amber generation play. But here I really see the core of this deck is this very, very like plus Logos, right? The other houses for me are like relatively average. The Sting play matters. The Coward's End matters. Like the cards are not awfully bad, but it's really like, if I'm drawing my Logos and playing my Logos, I'm going to be just playing more cards than you. Moving to matchup specifics, though, you have a deck in D20 here that is just absolutely doing what I'm trying to do, probably better, with a library access play, with the phase shifts, you know, double lab work, sloppy lab work, putting everything away. The dis and like all these like targets that are using the Soul Snatcher, you do have to worry about the Shark. But if the Shark doesn't come with great timing, it's gonna become hard to take these things off the board. So I'm actually really liking the D20 deck here. The Logos is just as good, and then the other card quality is higher to me. How are you feeling?
You know, I'm kind of leaning. I mean, you know, this is definitely a matchup that's going to be hand dependent, right? Because it's like, are we getting, you know, is Throne Room getting like a really good LA turn, or are we getting the Sharkimedes loop with the Helper Bots and like,
Sure.
if the Shark, it kind of is a question of who's getting what first. And if the Shark, like, I feel like the if the LA turn happens, it happens, and the rest of the deck is fine. But like that Sharkimedes loop can't really be stopped by Throne Room, I don't think.
Well, I mean, you at this point, I mean, it's only got 1 Archimedes, so you do pop it and then you end the loop,
Right, right.
and
You have
there's no
ways
way to recur it.
of removal, but like it again, though, it will just depend on hands, right? It's like they
Right.
need that removal in hand, otherwise it'll get sort of crazy. I don't know. I really like the options for the helper bots. Like you could like Binate Rupture and then like Ronnie or Burn the Stockpile or Nerve Blast in the same turn,
Sure.
um, to do some messed up, you know, Amber manipulation stuff. And like I think it's an interesting matchup. I don't. Again, it's like I'm feeling very 50-50 because it's like it really depends on when some of these things are happening. Um,
Hmm.
it's like I feel like I worry with the Logos in Throne Room of like if you are trying to play to have the perfect library access turn, the game could get away, you know. Um,
Right.
whereas the other one you just kind of play it straight almost.
Right. And the Logos will like do it if it does it. I love your call there on the. I hadn't seen quite how many options there are in the Binate Rupture, plus the helper bots, but there really is like you said, you can immediately punish with the Burn the Stockpile, um,
Right.
being able to even without the Rani, right? Like you can play your Binate Rupture and slap a Sting down on the same turn just to like make them forge on your pace.
Right.
Um, I really, really like that. You can also Screech Bomb to kind of undo their boost, so I quite like that. I think, to me, the D20 deck is more overall synergistic, if that makes sense, right? Like, I talked about this really plus logos in the New York City deck.
Right.
But for me, I feel like every turn is going to be kind of higher average quality. The low creature control, which is the weakness of the D20 deck, matters less against the 13 creature deck. I think it's kind of in a situation where it's going to be able to play to its strengths, other than the Neutron Shark removing that Soul Snatcher and the Screaming Cave. That could be real bad.
You're right. Yeah, in that case it is the case that like the lack of creature control, um, I feel like when you get a matchup like this, you feel like you've kind of gotten away with something. Where
Right.
it's like, great, I didn't bring a ton of creature control, and their EP is like less than 30. Like that's great. Um,
Right.
so yeah, I do like that. I mean, this is an interesting one. I feel like I I see what you mean about the D20 deck. I think if I were to go into this matchup, I would rather be controlling the New York City deck.
Huh. All right. So, I mean, what we really have here then, just to do a quick recap, is we have a captain matchup of which we're roughly unanimous that New York City will take it. We've got a blue matchup, which is a little closer to 50-50 and handsy. I was going with the D20 deck on blue, likely, and then I believe that you were in more of a toss-up. Did you have a final say on that?
I'm still very like mixed on this one.
Right. So we've got, averaging it together, we've got a slight lean towards the D20 deck, with me kind of leaning that way. And then the red matchup is very 50-50 for you. I lean slightly D20 on it, but yeah, this is a really kind of evenly matched top 16 here, right? Like, it could definitely come out. If you were to play it 5 different times, I would expect 5 different results.
Right. Right. Yeah, and it's like even the case with like the captain matchup, for instance, that like we were kind of unanimous on. It's like it's not 10 out of 10 though, right? Like it's probably more like 9 out of 10, right? And so it's like KOTE brings out that 1 out of 10 probability.
It always does. So enjoy the show.
Yeah.
And recording. Stop.
You could have trimmed this.
There we go.
All right. Well, we'll trim those a little bit more at the end. But that, Brett, awesome work as ever. Thank you to Swindle for the great deck breakdowns. So this is the, I have already forgotten, the red player game.
Red player game, because the blue player game was played. Well, there's Night Forge, which GeoHeap said it would be great with not still a garbage card, but quite good with double sting. But sloppy level to start off with, not a bad shout to go with. It means that GeoHeap has to come up with a proactive play when he's got a very reactive hand. Discarding the bad penny when you haven't got anything else to play, which bad penny life for life is a good start. GeoHeap in a bad position here. Got a Titan Librarian, but nothing to get it off the flank. There we see a Dust Imp. The Drumble and the Hand of Dis are played. Kage going for a more holding the cards, not going for a less effective play, efficient play.
Yeah, but you can see why there's reasons to do that.
Plays the treasure map, discards the booby trap, gets up to 5, put GeoHeap in a much worse position. But we now see the Titan Librarian being able to be taken off the flank. We see First Blood and Lava Ball and hand making. First Blood is a beautiful archive target because you can just let it sit there and wait, and you can confuse your opponent because you can play Brobnar without drawing your archives, and they're trying to work out what you've got. Aphorism Principle is not going to be of any use here, but a mission is going to deal with both Archimedes and Hexapon here. Plays Hand of Dis off the phase shift to archive the Titan Librarian. Now there was an issue here where Kage wanted the Hexapon to resolve before the Archimedes, but they didn't have the right settings enabled. But GeoHeap brilliant sportsmanship allowed it to be done manually, so the card day archive was put back into the deck.
And the rules of the tournament is it's your opponent's choice if they let you or not.
I did say they did ask me, and I was like, it's entirely up to your opponent. And GeoHeap, being a brilliant player, being a brilliant show of sportsmanship, allowed them to do it. There's Sting. GeoHeap goes up to 11. Jumble captures all 11. Tentacus with the Sting is a nice little combination play because Tentacus will punish you, and so the Sting can't be popped while it's there. But we see the logos play come down, and there is Neutron Shark. Neutron Shark can answer Tentacus, it can answer Sting, and it can answer Jumble.
Neutron shot.
Exactly.
Shot.
Plays level, and Neutron Shark is to survive, which can be a huge issue moving forward. Their deference and principle takes Cargate off the second check, but means that they are still going to get that first key. But with the key hammer there ready to go, it is huge.
But
It's
just a delay. It's not a problem normally. They say the
archives Jumble off the Archaeologist. So basically, should be telegraphing to GeoHeap that the key hammer is there, but you can't. Yeah, what can you do? Not forge the key? Plays Lava Ball, wipes the board, plays low up, and holds the Coward's End. Very interesting. Plays Keyhammer, one of the rare few times Keyhammer actually coming into effect. Then plays Jumble to capture it all. Overlord Grecking on a Neutron Shark could be beautiful.
Ooh, that would be entertaining at least.
Plays Fear on the low, meaning the flex not as good as it would have been. Interesting choice to go on the shadows here, as they weren't really showing the check. And I want to get that Screech Bomb and that growth down. But yeah, sure. Yeah, this is definitely a lower ghost turn. Jumbo Mission's going to deal with the shark, going to put some damage in Yancy Gang. Fogify, prevent a fight. Fogify, prevent a fight. And then plays level, going up to 7. The key can still be denied here, thanks to. But we see there's the second Sting. Plays for investors because Kage has more amber, gains an additional 1. Plays Sting to go to 5, steals. Now here I would Skeleton Key and take my opponent off the key just to buy an extra turn because you know your opponent's going to do it. I know I'm not going back into Shadows next turn because I've got the Bromna there. But it's interesting that GeoHeap let the opponent forge.
Yeah. But also, I'm not sure how he's going to tackle the Sting issue without. I would say Geo has a lot of trouble.
You can see what I mean here. Even if he hadn't let it would have might have changed the flow of the game. Once you punch the Coward's End, if you know you're going into Bromna next turn, using the Skeleton Key to capture an additional 1 makes your opponent play a lot differently than just going, okay, I'm a key ahead now.
Agree. It gives you a lot more breathing space, which is what that lacked, I think.
Still holding this flex. We have a Screech Bomb down. But here comes Hand of Disc gets rid of Groke. Tentacus comes down. And Soul Snatcher, a very good card in this kind of matchup when you got the Bromna that wants to fight. Yeah. Can't Forge, and Tentacus is going to punish for the uses of the Sting.
So what do you do here? Do you go Shadows to get rid of the Sting, or do you go Logos, or do you do Brogba to get the money at the Amber off Lollop?
You got Shadows steal 1, pop the Sting, which gains 1, and then you pass. Using the Skeleton Key feels wrong here.
Why?
That's just giving your opponent Amber.
Yeah.
Titan Mechanic.
Ooh, interesting. He's got to have another creature next to it at least.
Yeah, they'll definitely come down.
Yeah.
Doctor's Katana gets an additional 1. There's a very late library access. I don't think there's much left in there.
Well, there's a third of a deck left, so.
And we can see this is over unless GeoHeap makes a mistake. No, there's a flex of Helperbot. There's nothing in hand now that can punish enough to get off 11. and RKO just into a jumble that could was 2 turns away, but no, a very close game. A couple of like I would say misplays, but mistakes in timing with the skeleton key when Tentacus was down, but isn't going to change the fact that GeoHeap is just too far ahead of Amber thanks to the little bits of house cheating. And in fact, you can tell GeoHeap has played this matchup a couple of times because of the way has played this deck a few times because he knows how to handle this deck. He knows where the effects are, and knows how to interact with each house. He knows his neutral shark is great for disabling these things. Helper bot is great for setting up future turns. It's a very great one, and I'm very intrigued to see how New York will do against Marzi Dumba.
Let me quickly wonder why it's not showing me the.
I will, yes.